What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And this one is once again about this epic, historic UFC White House card event that is slated to take place in late June of 2026. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this as the hype is starting to build, as this is coming into reality, as Dana White is talking about and sharing more of the specifics with us fans. So we really are now in the I thought this was going to happen from the get-go because of the way that Dana White talked about it at the beginning. But a lot of people who are skeptical are now coming on board and saying yes, including Jed Meshew, this is probably happening. But one thing that I noticed that they talked about in this show today from Between the Links that I wanted to dispute is this idea that this event has anything to do with politics. And when I say politics, I mean left versus right, Democrat versus Republican. I believe it has nothing to do with that. And when people say it has something to do with it, it's because you're creating that narrative in your mind, but it's absolutely has nothing to do with that. And I'm going to talk about exactly why in this video. But first, let me play this clip from Jed Meshew saying, oh my God, it's so political. It's impossible to disconnect it and whatever. I disagree. But let me play his clip, give his perspective first. And I do want to say off the bat, I actually really like Jed Meshew. I think he's really intelligent, very bright, has great perspectives all the time. So this is not me saying I'm not a fan of his. I actually am, and I listen to him a lot. But I think in this case, not that you cannot exactly say it's mistaken, but again, it's a manifestation in your own mind. If you're going to call this a political event, you're adding that narrative, in my opinion, and I'll show you exactly why I believe that. So let's listen to him. Take it away, Jed.
The other side of it, and we don't try and be political on this show at all, and I'm not going to veer too hard into the politics of it, but it is impossible to separate politics and sport when you're doing a fight card on the White House lawn. Like, for years, a big chunk of fandom, frankly, from both sides of the aisle, have been like, hey, shut up and dribble. And I know over the past few years that has obviously just not been the case. Like, there is a good argument that UFC events broadly have become political rallies for the right-wing American political parties. But like, when you're doing a fight card on the White House lawn, there is no separation of politics. It is intrinsic there, and I don't know how to feel about it. It seems really weird. Like, just straight up, this is the most idiocracy thing that's ever happened in a world that is progressively getting more idiocracy every day. And it is insane to like think this is where we are. Like, I have been a fan of this sport long enough, right, to remember when getting on Facebook early prelims was a big deal, when you couldn't watch all the fights for the UFC because like you could only see the pay-per-view stuff. And so to go to watch them, you'd have to buy the videotapes or like find them online places. And now it's just like, actually, this is going to be on CBS from the White House lawn. I don't know what to make of it. It's really.
We're going to pause right there. So this is what he's missing, or maybe it's not fully, he's just not putting it together, in my opinion. But again, this is not about politics. This is not about right wing versus left wing. If he wants to say that these served as political rallies during the election or during the campaign, right, the year leading up to the election, I can understand that. You're having one of the party candidates come in who's not the president but is running for president. I get that. This is something completely different. This is about national acceptance. This is what I talked about in my video I made a few days ago, saying now I understand the significance of this event. And he's illustrating it perfectly right here. He remembers the days when you had to get on the Facebook, whatever, to watch the prelims on Facebook, or for so long it was outlawed in many states in the United States, including New York City. That just became legalized or allowed, I guess you could say, permitted, regulated in New York just in 2016. That's less than 10 years ago. What this symbolizes is it's not about being a Republican sport or a Democratic sport, is being accepted into American culture, being accepted not only on the state level, but on the national level. That's what it's about. So if you want to say what he's trying to say is, oh, it's so hard to separate it between right wing and left wing, I think that's because our current president is so polarizing that people have really chosen one side or the other. But really, at the end of the day, that's the sitting president. That's who's in the White House right now. And they're going to do an event at the White House. This is about the U.S. and celebrating American history, not about celebrating Republican history, not about going against Democrats or whatever. And to me, I am not a political person whatsoever. It's not about who's in office right now. To me, what's significant about this is exactly what I just said. It's national acceptance. It's a huge milestone. And this is an amazing opportunity for the sport to grow. It's such an amazing product. Now let's get it out there. Let's put it out on CBS, like you said. Let's blast it out to the world. So that's what this is about. And I think it's a really unfortunate mischaracterization to say, oh, this is right leaning, or this is showing support for this president or that president. This is just a sitting president right now who's inviting this sport in to the nation's capital to be presented on an incredible stage to the entire world. It's something to celebrate, plain and simple. Now, just to further illustrate my point, I had ChatGPT create a chronological list, and this is probably not even all inclusive, dating back in the last 20 years of different teams or athletic events or whatever that have been hosted by the White House. So we go back to Bush. He brings in the NCAA champs from 2004 to 2005. Does that mean that they're all Republicans at the time, or they're supporting Bush per se? No, he's just the sitting president. They invited them in. Now we come later on to President Barack Obama inviting UConn's women's basketball team. Are they an all Democratic team? No, it has nothing to do with that. He was the sitting president at the time. Kind of a similar timeline, right? I think he had just gotten into office. No, it's actually a little bit of a different timeline, but he had just gotten into office. Several months later, he invites them in, whatever. We have in 2010, this is more of a similar timeline. He has the New Orleans Saints. Again, nothing to do with alignment with the left or the right. That's the sitting president, and he's honoring them. And they're all going to go. I guarantee you there were Republicans on the team. It's not about that. Moving ahead, we had, again, the president, when it was Trump versus Obama, inviting the same, not the same team, but a different team, but they were the champions after they won the Super Bowl, right? So we see there's a long tradition of this. Joe Biden, Golden State Warriors, no political affiliation, I guarantee. Biden hosts the Gotham FC sports team. Biden hosts the Boston Celtics in 2024. And then now we have in April 2028, the Philadelphia Eagles come. So this is a long-standing tradition in the White House. It's not a political stance of this team supports this president or this, that, something like that. It's you're invited by the president. Who's going to say no? It's an honor, regardless, if you're a fan of living in the U.S. So that's how it needs to be viewed. Once again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. This is a major milestone. And if you're a UFC fan and a fan of mixed martial arts and a supporter of the fighters, the only thing you should be doing right now is celebrating the fact that this sport has now gained statewide acceptance, national acceptance, and it's being invited in to the White House, not just on any day, on the 250th anniversary of this country. And for many of us, this is probably the biggest celebration of national independence, of U.S. independence that we'll experience in our lifetime. Maybe there's some young people out there that will experience the 300th celebration, but that's how you should be viewing it. And if anybody is saying anything other than that and not and having any sort of complaints about this fight, in my opinion, you're not in touch with your MMA fandom. I'm not saying you're not a true fan, but you're not looking at this the right way and not looking at it through the correct lens, in my opinion, of just straight up celebrating the sport and being a fan. That's what I got to say about this. I cannot wait. I think this is going to be incredible. I used to live in DC. I will be in DC for this buildup. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to get a ticket because I think it's going to be reserved for very specific people. They said 5,000 people. I bet it's going to be a lot of military people, things like that, maybe a couple celebrities, but it's going to be an awesome celebration for, I imagine, the armed forces who are going to be there in person. So anyways, I cannot wait. On top of that, the card is going to be epic. On top of that, they have amazing leverage other than financial leverage, which is awesome, to get all the best fighters to show up because everybody wants to be a part of the celebration. That's how big it is. So I am all in. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with my take or do you disagree? Do you feel that actually Jed is correct, that there are political implications as opposed to whether you're right-leaning or left-leaning? I don't think so at all, but that's my opinion. Thank you guys so much for joining. We will see you in the next video. Take it easy.